Yo, what does welcome back to Reviews with Jake, where I just got done watching Candyman. Candyman is the spiritual sequel to the original film, but to be more precise and frank, it's just a sequel. It picks up over a decade after the original film, in which we have an aspiring artist who's gotten dangerously interested in the old neighborhood that the Candyman used to reign. For a little bit of context with my familiarity with this franchise, I've only seen the original film. I have not seen the, 2 sequels? And it's been a very long time since I've seen that movie. In fact, I wish I would have watched it before watching this one upon learning that it's just an actual sequel. Like, real context is probably necessary. It would have made things connect a little more. But even so, I was really excited to see this movie because it was Jordan Peele getting involved in a Candyman movie, whether it's a sequel, reboot, or whatever the f we want to call it. I recall the original film having a lot of subtle undertones, kind of hinting at class and social issues, and it's just primed for further exploration in this day and age here in 2021. And who better to help us explore these themes than the director of Get Out and Us, 2 very socially conscious films. Now, Jordan Peele did not direct this one, he just helped write it and produce it. The director was Nia DaCosta, who was someone who I was unfamiliar with before going in and seeing the movie. But clearly she has some directorial chops because the MCU has pegged her and determined she's going to be the director of the next Captain Marvel movie, so clearly there's some talent there to be explored, and I was excited to see it. And yep, confirmed, she definitely has it, and the pros start right there. This is a very good-looking, well-made film. The shots are composed in such a very creative and methodical way. The intro credit sequence in which we're looking at Chicago upside down with a very foggy sky. The very outside-the-box creative use of mirrors to reveal that of the titular Candyman. Lots of abandoned, dead, urbex locations mixed with very vibrant, colorful, urban locations. And sometimes even the mix of the two. It would be like a shot during twilight, the sunset hour, in which we have the old Cabrini Green neighborhood dead and abandoned, shrouded in shade and shadow. Meanwhile, the new, developed, tall cityscape stands behind it, getting blasted by the heat of the sun. The contrast between the two in the very same frame is a very tactful, powerful image. The overall presentation of this film is a lot more thoughtful, well composed, and crafted than that of other 90-minute horror movies you see nowadays. Even the creative use of vantage points that are explored when Candyman kills people in this movie, even that is super interesting. Not only for the fact that it's a new, interesting perspective for us, the audience, to see horrors like this, but it really stays on brand for Candyman, the character, who really thrives on his legend, the legacy, people knowing and fearing his story. So when you have these kills happening, seeing them through the eyes of witnesses' perspectives, that's a nice touch. What also possessed a very nice touch was the makeup and body horror of the film. This film has a lot of very cringeworthy, disgusting moments that I kind of wasn't expecting. I mean, realistically, I probably should have seen it coming, but maybe that's a testament to how good it was that it still kind of felt like it caught me off guard. But the body dismemberments are horrifyingly amazing, and the blood is very liberal and well executed. No pun intended. I also gotta give a couple big shout outs to a few of the actors and actresses in the film who all crushed it in their respective roles. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who plays the artist, the protagonist, the person who unfortunately ends up being the primary focus of the titular Candyman character. Teyana Paris, who plays his wife, or girlfriend, I don't really remember which one it was, but she has a front row seat to see him going through the madness. Back to the importance of vantage points in this film, I mean, you can't get a closer vantage point than that, and I thought both of them really excelled. And Coleman Domingo, who's the guy that Yaya's character goes to learn all things Candyman, I thought he had a nice mysterious intrigue to his performance. These 3 really excelled in this film. I'd add Tony Todd to the mix, but unfortunately, not really in it that much. Which does lead me to the cons, because this movie's plot and focus is interesting. I think a lot of Candyman purists, which I guess are out there, news to me, but I feel like a lot of people are upset with the way that they handled Candyman in this movie. Which, rightfully so, I suppose, because it is quite a diversion, departure from what the Candyman character was in previous films. But frankly, no one should really be surprised. I mean, like I said before, the original film has undertones of social issues and class and whatnot, and Jordan Peele likes to tackle this kind of subject matter in his films, so if it's a film that he's involved in, you gotta anticipate that's gonna be a big focus of the film. But for me, the problem wasn't necessarily the adjustment they made to the Candyman character and how they used him, but more so the execution of that plan. I think at the end of the day, it all boils down to the fact that this is a 90-minute film which doesn't leave a lot of runtime to really rewrite the fabric of an already established horror franchise. The only way you can really pull it off is to have an insane amount of exposition dumps, which this movie unfortunately possesses. Heralding all the tales of Candyman, the stories from previous films, and having characters in this film tell them as if they are that of legend. And adding an interesting graphic treatment as a visual aid while these stories are being told, and that treatment I wasn't really the biggest fan of. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed them in themselves. I thought they were cool, creative, the shadow puppets. It was a nice little touch. I just don't think it cut really well with the real live action people telling the story and then cutting back and forth to this macabre little puppet show. I personally would have just let the talent, the excellent actors and actresses who all excel in this movie, just let them shine a little further. Tell the story without the visual aid. We don't need to read books with pictures. On a similar note, while I did enjoy 3 or 4 different actors and actresses' portrayals in this movie, I think there are a lot of secondary minor character actors that I don't think were quite as successful. A lot of them honestly are kid performances, which I guess I can forgive. Good child actors are kind of few and far between. But there were a lot of other characters that were just kind of there to be bodies for the Candyman to kill, and those characters and the actors portraying them, I just wasn't really buying what they were selling. Granted, I will say and give them the benefit of the doubt that sometimes I can't really determine if it was the actor's portrayal of them or the dialogue of the film, which sometimes was pretty meh. There's a handful of really strange, awkward filler scenes that I'm not really sure why they're even in the movie at all. Sometimes it's these strange attempts at comedy and humor. I don't know if that's the Jordan Peele influence. I mean, he does come from comedy. He's really good at it. And I don't know if he's responsible for the comedic attempts of this film, but sometimes it lands and it's great. There's a few chuckles there that definitely land, but when it doesn't, it's just kind of like awkward cricket silences. Oftentimes throughout this movie, whether it was the comedic attempts or the overall narrative pushing forward, I understood what they were going for. They were close. But some situations maybe could have used another once-over in writing, or acting-wise, they could have just used another take to really convey the proper tone and emotion. On sort of a similar note of being really close to something great, while there were a lot of really great sequences where they utilized cool vantage points, I feel like sometimes when they utilized it, it felt like they were just straight up cutting away from a kill. While sometimes these creative vantage points felt like an artistic decision, a fresh new way to see a kill from a new perspective, other times it just felt like a cutaway kill, an off-camera death. Which I think can work in a lot of cases. Sometimes off-camera deaths are great. Sometimes our imagination will take it from there, but other times when it happens, it just kind of feels underwhelming. That being said, at the end of the day, underwhelming is not a word I would choose to describe this movie. All in all, for a horror movie this short, it is fine and good. It has some great production value, some decent scares, just the plot just didn't really stick the landing. It's rather heavy-handed, rushed, lacking the nuance and touch of the original film, but that being said, I don't think it's an idea that couldn't have worked. I think for what this film was trying to do, an extra 15 minutes could have really helped flesh out these ideas and deepen the impact. Still, for a 90-minute horror film, I think it's pretty good. I'm going to give Candyman a B-. I was gonna give him a B, but figured he probably has plenty of those. Dad jokes. Sorry. But that's just me. What do you guys think? Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. And make sure to subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with new reviews coming real soon. Stay safe. Thanks for checking in.